Thank you very much, Cheryl. It was indeed very interesting. Maybe if anyone on the call has got any questions, if they just put them into the chat, and I'll start feeding them through. Maybe I'll start, Cheryl, just to give people an opportunity to actually put their questions in, and I'll take them forward. You actually said there about learning from mistakes, which of course is a really, really good thing to do. But there are times when you talk about preparation, of course you prepare, but there are times whenever you need to be a lucky referee as well, don't you?
Yeah, very.
So how do you get back on? How do you actually rationalize? Because you say analyze things quite a lot. How do you prepare? How do you get over something when you know I've just been unlucky with regards to missing something, and no matter what you would have done or how you would have approached something differently, the outcome would have been exactly the same. What's your resilience? How do you cope with that?
Very interesting, because that's something that I know that I'm working on all the time. I think I've got resilience because I'm a PE teacher, and my experience as a player, it's very different as a referee, because every decision is questioned, isn't it? And you have to show resilience to that. I refereed last night TNS, and they're difficult because they question every decision that you make. And being unlucky, it's a difficult one to take, because like you say, you think, well, whatever I would have done, I wouldn't have seen it. But at the same time, I still think there are things that you can learn from that, even if it's a couple of steps to the left, or being more on your toes, or being proactive and not reactive, those sort of things. I'm a firm believer that you make your own luck. So one of the key messages that we get told from UEFA is you get the best angle, to make the best decision. And sometimes if that means that I move into the angle rather than trying to make up ground, so I've got a clearer view, then I have to work on that. And they're very much about pushing towards the 7x7x7 test, the sprint test that we do, because they want us in and out of the penalty area as much as we can to get the best view for every decision. So I get what you mean about being unlucky, but I still think you make your own luck. So you just got to keep learning from those decisions. But resilience is something I'm learning all the time. I do find the men's games tough. It's just a case of I've got a good team around me. So last night I had a great team around me, helped me through sticky spots, times that I felt under pressure maybe. But I'm very fortunate within the Welsh Football Association that I've got very good teams around me, whatever game I do.
Okay, good. Look, there's a couple of people who have started to put things through in the chat, so I'll deal with those in a minute. But you've actually touched on it in your presentation. Can you maybe just give us a flavour? Once you get let's just say a comment notification for a domestic game, or a UEFA FIFA notification for an international game, could you just really touch on how you prepare, your preparation, what you go through, what you do?
Yeah, it's interesting. Like I said, I did a webinar on Monday, and Helen Ward, who I played football for Wales with, and she went, I didn't realise you put that much preparation in. I make sure that, especially for a women's UEFA tournament, we have an opportunity to go to Viscount to download games. So I will download the last 3 games of both teams, because I want to know what their setup is, formation, particular players that might cause me issues, who's the star player, who might get constantly, because I know as a player that level of tactical awareness was done by the management of whoever we played. So because of that knowledge, I'm going, well, I have to do just as much, or not even more, because I've got to learn both teams' tactical preparation. What do they do on corners? What are their signals? Things like that. So obviously, when I get the appointment, it's looking at, what have they played against each other recently? What is their yellow card count, their red card count? Straight away, we're on, WhatsApp to the other referees, who refereed them recently. What's happened in your games? Is there anything to look out for? So the preparation's massive. because the more, I'm very much a believer that once you've done the preparation, that game could be completely different. But it's just making sure that you're ready. Like I said, it's been about being proactive and not reactive.
I was on mute there. I'm just going from the chats from the top to the bottom. A couple of people, great finish, and I would agree as a Liverpool supporter for your goal you scored. Very good. It was a great goal. I thought you were offside, but good goal anyway.
No, I was on. I was in my own penalty area. In my own half. Sorry.
Lee Tavender asked a question here. Two questions in one. Do you think the difference when playing, being refereed by female referees and male referees? And question number one. So answer that rather than actually give you the second part. What do you find a difference between male and female?
Yes.
Right. In what way?
Is the honest answer. I can only go, I think referees progress massively. There are more and more female referees now. And I think the education's better and the development's better. I still think that when I got sent off, that both cautions weren't cautions. It is right that UEFA European referee is a little bit pernickety. I get told all the time I'm a British referee. But to answer your question about male or female, I can only go on my experience, and I think it's different now. But when I played and I was refereed by a male, you couldn't talk to them. It was go away, go away, player, all those things. And one of the things I picked up on that is that when I became a referee, is that would never happen. If a player asked me a question, but I couldn't answer it because something's going on, I will always say to them, give me a minute, because I'm not dismissing them. I'm just saying, give me a minute because something else is happening, or I can't hear you, something like that. Whether people think that's being too nice, I appreciate that comment and or those opinions, but I can only tell you what, I've learned when I was a player, what I didn't like. And I try to not do that. It's a bit like when I was a teenager and how I was spoken to by various teachers. And I promised myself when I became a teacher that I wouldn't be like that either. So, like I said, I'm sure, it's different now. I can't really speak about the male referees now, but that was the big difference. Okay. That was the big difference for me.
And the second question, I think I probably know the answer because I did talk to you. By the way, I forgot to say that whenever we had Welsh colleagues over doing the Northern Ireland against USA game recently, Cheryl was the fourth official, and I was just sort of communicating with Cheryl about how she found it. And you said to me that you'd found it very beneficial. And this is the second part of the question. And would you advise female referees to referee both male and female football to aid their development? What's your thoughts on that?
I can only speak on from my own experience, but it really has benefited me, so I think that I've progressed up the categories as a FIFA referee because of my male, the male game that I'm involved in. And as I've got promotion in the Welsh setup, it's helped the other way as well. And I know that one of the things that the FIFA referee manager likes is that, having played, but I referee at the highest level I can get to in men's football in Wales. I personally think it helps. I think even, like I said, when I was refereeing under 12s, under 14s, under 16s, refereeing on my own at reserve and Colts, the men, the men's reserve and Colts, which no assistance, just on all those things really has helped me. So the quickest answers for me to say is yes. I think, I would advise anyone coming through to do both. Okay.
And David Redfern, who was your referee.
Hey, is he there?
David, who was your referee liaison officer when you were he's made a comment. It's not a question. So then at the Football Association of Wales referee conference a few years ago, more recent match that he looked after you. There's no change in you. Totally grounded person who some can lose track of. Does he owe you some money or something, Cheryl? Does what's going on? Okay, so that's I
think I owe him a drink.
That's a compliment. Obviously, what's behind that is, irrespective of what your success has been over the last number of years, you're still the same person that you were that number of years ago. Do you think that's important with regards to not getting ahead of yourself in terms of your success? Do you think that's important?
Oh, that's very kind, because yeah, I do think it's important. Like I say, I do. One of my problems, but maybe it's a good thing as well, is that I am honest and open, and I analyze things, and I do think it's important to stay grounded. Like I said, you know, would I love to get to the Euros? Of course I would. Would I love to get to the World Cup? Of course I would. But, you know, I also understand that there are other girls doing exactly what I'm doing. It could be, like you said before, about luck on a pitch. It could be just luck that I miss something and then I get a 7.9 and then I don't go to a major championship. I think it's really important that I stay grounded, and I've always tried to maintain that, whether I've been in core or category 3, working with the girls, Victoria and Louise. I just think it's really important that you're level-minded. You're not too big for your boots or anything like that, but it's just not in my personality. So yeah.
There's a question from Jimmy Pritchard. Jimmy's not long finished himself as a referee.
Okay.
So he's asking the question: what would you say was the greatest challenge moving from playing to refereeing, besides being hit with the ball 20 times in your first 10 games?
Did he see my game last night?
No.
I got hit by the ball, but you know, I said to the boys, I said, was I in the wrong place? And they said, no, your position was fine. It was just that he decided to boot the ball that way. God, it smacked me on the side of the head. I forgot the question now, but what the major challenges?
Yeah, just, you know, what would you say was the greatest challenge from playing to refereeing? What do you think?
Not wanting to kick the ball. So at the beginning, it was position. Do you know what? I'm not even going to say the beginning. Positioning has always been one of my areas to improve. I think I've got better recently, but over the years, if there was a comment in the area to improve, it would always be positioning. And I think that, therefore, as a player, it has had a detrimental effect, because, you know, I'm just going, at the beginning, I was going where the ball was, you know, in very early on. I didn't get hit by the ball, but I was always in the best position to, if the ball dropped to me, I was scoring. So I think positionally, having played, it's probably had a bit of a detrimental effect, but that's something that I've worked on like loads. And that's the other thing that I've struggled with, is that in UEFA they want you to referee one way, and then I can go back to Wales, this is a couple of years ago, and you know, the observer will pick up on my positioning saying it's wrong. So that again is something that I've had to sort of really sort of understand, that maybe got to change a little bit from a women's UEFA game and a men's Welsh Prem game.
A couple of other questions just coming through, which is good to hear. You're generating a good lot of feedback here, Cheryl.
Are they going to ask me about the Super League or VAR?
We don't ask political questions like that, because we're all friends here. You talked about players becoming referees and how this helps with your new role. Do new referees who haven't played before have to work at certain areas much stronger? And what in particular would spring to mind if you had, for instance, somebody who's maybe moving into refereeing? For instance, some of our referee academy guys and girls might be on this call. In fact, I know I see some of them on it. And you know, these are young people, and they won't have played the game too much. So therefore they're moving from maybe not much experience of playing through to refereeing. What areas do you think they would need to look at, you know, starting their referee career with really no knowledge of playing? Listen,
like I say, that having played has helped me, and I'm not saying that is the textbook answer, because there are so many people there that love football and then go into refereeing, and I think that's right as well. The one thing I would probably say that they'd have to probably consider or work on, and maybe that's through going to local games, going to men's and women's games, watching football on the TV, actually looking at games that you're going to be refereeing at that level is probably like foul recognition is probably one of the things I'd say that they'd need to work on, because players can over exaggerate, players can scream and shout, and it's just making sure that you understand what is a foul and what isn't, rather than listening to the shout is probably something that I'd say to them. But
Okay.
you can learn that by going and watching games. And that's something that I did very early on in my refereeing career. Is I went to as many games as I could. And I used to watch football as a game. Now I watch football as the game. And where's the referee? What position have they taken up? How did they make that decision? What was the movement to get there? So even now, I don't just watch a game of football normally. I'm also looking at what the referee's doing.
Okay. This question's from me and Gary looks after our referee academy. Could you give our young female referees one key point to take away from tonight to think about?
I'd go back to the slide I've left up there is about being a sponge, and I've got 2 or 3 really experienced referees, still active referees, that I speak to on a regular occurrence. And when I did the women's conference in Wales, and I hope Louise and Victoria know that, I'm happy to support and help people as much as possible, but I just seeked advice all the time, and just got opinions and showed clips and, can you look at this? What do you think? How can I improve? So that's something that I definitely say to new or young referees that are only just starting out. One of the beauties of refereeing is that you learn from every mistake that you make, because once you've made that mistake or you've missed something, you won't miss it again, because you'll learn from it. So try and learn from every situation. I still try and do that now, but that's definitely something that I would pass on.
Okay, this is a more general question from Tony Sharkey. Looking at IFAB issues, with your IFAB hat on, your technical group issues, what do you think maybe might be the one thing which would improve the game? Some of the things maybe IFAB are looking at now, or maybe something else. What do you think?
Wow. I know that when we were in the meeting, there was a discussion and it was brought up about whether referees should be mic'd so that the TV could hear what they were saying, a bit like, rugby. That was definitely poo-pooed straight away by the top brass, because they don't think they don't think that's right, and I don't think that will change. I'm not an advocate for it either, but that's just something that sprung to mind that someone did bring up as an idea. I don't know. I think that, if VAR is going to stay, that there needs to be more education around it, because I've done 5 days of training in VAR when I did the FIFA course last year, and it's really hard, actually. It's sort of, I've got a lot of sympathy, and you might think, well, you get better angles and you can see things, but you're actually in a room with 10 screens all showing you different things. And, I know these guys are experienced, etc., but there is still a sense of pressure, wanting to get it right, wanting to get the decision quickly. We're told to sort of get the decision checked and told to the referee in the shortest time possible. And I think, therefore, that does involve some human error mistakes as well. So yeah, I think probably that.
Okay, I'm going to close on this one, Cheryl, because it's nearly 5 minutes past 8. This comes from Ryan, and it closes the thing absolutely brilliantly as far as I'm concerned. So the message says, thanks, Cheryl, great presentation. You're doing very well. You're a great inspiration. Good luck for the future, and I hope you make the Euros.
Oh, thank you very much.
And I would, on behalf of all of us who actually joined us, webinar tonight, we all wish you all the best. I'd also like to thank you for, on behalf of the IFA, on behalf of Louise and Victoria, for whenever you sort of looking after them whenever they're with you and stuff like that. They learn a lot. They're on the start of the journey that you took in 2016, and we look forward to their success, hopefully the same as yours over the next number of years. So look, that was excellent. Cheryl, thank you very much. What there's for any young referee, either male or female on this call, the thing that I'm really taking for this, Simon, are you going to put the screen on? Yeah. Finish the prep.
I'll do a stop share. Sorry.
Yeah, just to see your. There you go. So so the one thing, if I'm looking for one thing to take from this, there's a lot of things to take from this, but the one big thing that sticks in my head is the level of preparation that you do for your games. And I would hope that people who maybe wouldn't put in as much preparation, I don't care whether they're operating at tier 1 or tier 5 or tier 6. I think fail to prepare to fail, I think, is a saying which we all know, we've all heard, and I think you've demonstrated quite clearly tonight how that actually impacts itself through your promotion and how well you've got on. So Cheryl, I'm about to leave the meeting. Thank you very much. That was really, really good. Thanks for the effort in terms of putting it in. And we'll look forward to see your name on the list for the Euros, and that would be great. Great for you, great for Wales. And for any of us, finally, like yourselves, Wales and Northern Ireland are small countries in the scheme of things. So I'm nice to see everyone on this call, especially teenagers. If you can do it, Cheryl, anyone can do it, because okay, you have the slight edge becoming an international player and a well-known international player, but the bottom line is you're from a so-called small country, and so's Northern Ireland, and that's a sort of other message that I would give as well. So anyway, thank you very much. Have a good rest of the evening, and it's a very, very helpful and insightful presentation, and take care.
Thanks, guys, for everyone and all the questions as well. Lovely to have been here.